Hello and welcome. If we haven't met before, I'm Christina Adams, author, poet and blogger, and I teach writing at The Writer's Cookbook. Today I want to talk to you about one of the biggest questions I get asked, and that is about creating character arcs. And I often get asked, do characters need to arc, particularly in plot-driven stories? How do you create an arc that's realistic and believable? And these are all things that we're gonna look at. So, let's get started. So there are basically 3 steps to creating a character arc. That is it. And if you put in any more, then you are overcomplicating it and making more work for yourself. And I am all about doing as much as possible with as little work as possible involved. So the 3 things you need to ask yourself. 1, what does your main character want the most? Number 2, what is in direct opposition to that thing that they want? And number 3, how can you keep putting them in situations that forces them to strive for that thing they want, but that thing in direct opposition gets in their way? So think of it as your character has a fear of commitment, but they really want to be with that love interest. Your book is all about them fighting through that fear of commitment to get to the thing they want at the other side, which is to be in a relationship with their love interest. Another example could be that they've been hurt in the past and they're really afraid that history is going to repeat itself, so they pull back and they're really reluctant, yet they have to work with their love interest, or they have to solve a problem with their love interest of some kind. And I do get asked, will this work for a plot-focused story? How do I get it to work? And it's basically the same formula. If you think about Harry Potter, Harry didn't want to be a leader at the start, okay? And he was forced to become a leader because he was the only person who could defeat Voldemort. Simply more challenging obstacles that helped him gain the confidence and the skills to be able to do what needed to be done. Another example is Home Alone. I actually watched that for the first time recently and I still couldn't twitch off my writer brain and I was still analysing it. But even Home Alone has a character arc. At the start of the story, Kevin is saying that he hates his family, doesn't care if he never sees them again, and the next morning his wishes come true. But he very quickly realises that actually it's not all it's cracked up to be. And you have the scenes that everyone remembers, which is where he's fighting off these burglars to protect his house, but also you have these very heartwarming scenes in between where he is talking to the old man, or where he's seeing families happily having Christmas dinner together, and it really makes him realise what he's missing out on with his family not around. And in this case, the character development comes from the slower scenes, but it's just as poignant and just as significant as those scenes where he is fighting off the wet bandits, because he needs to go through those things in order to realise the moral of the story, which is that family is important at any age. And you've also got the parallel of the old man and how he helps Kevin to realise that, but also Kevin helps him to realise some things, and it's a really sweet relationship. You can, of course, totally tie these things together if you want to. For instance, in the James Bond film Casino Royale, a lot of the big action scenes towards the end for Bond tend to be tied towards his love interest, Vesper Lynd, and those things wouldn't have the emotional resonance that they do if he wasn't in love with her and hadn't planned a future with her. But because he had and they kill her, it pulls at him emotionally and at us a lot harder. But he needed those slow scenes first to get to know Vesper, because they were what really forms the relationship. So don't overthink your character arcs, but also remember that ultimately their fit or flaw should be in direct opposition to that thing they want. So it could be a case of someone is inherently very selfish and the only way they can save the world is to sacrifice themselves. We see that a lot. We saw it with Iron Man. It's even in, things like the Black Cauldron. It's a very powerful character arc, because ultimately that is the only way for someone to overcome something like narcissism or selfishness. And we all know that one person who is so deeply selfish that they will never change. Another option is someone who is very arrogant and very selfish, and you have like Ebenezer Scrooge, and he goes through this really emotional journey, forcing him to confront the demons of his past. and we learn so much about him, and we understand why he's so evil at the end. But because he has finally dealt with these demons, he becomes a better person, and also because he's terrified of how he could end up, and the very concept that people could be celebrating his death. You know, no one wants that, and it is facing his fear that causes him to become a better person. And that's what you really need to think about, okay? What is the opposite of the thing they want or need? And then how can you keep throwing them into situations that force them to overcome that? But don't forget your slower scenes that will help you with things like character development or even building up the love interest. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found that useful. If you did, please do check out my character creation crash course, where we will be covering character arcs and so much more. If you've ever had questions about creating realistic, believable, and fun to write characters, then this is the course for you. It's on pre-order now and will be out in January. We'll be teaching some lessons live and some will be pre-recorded, and I can't wait to see you in there. Check out below for more details of how you can enroll. Also, if you do enroll, you'll get to help shape the course content based on the writing problems you need solving. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.